The Moto Guzzi V7 Sport, everybody. Welcome back to another video on this awesome motorcycle. And when I say awesome, I genuinely mean awesome. This bike is so much fun. But that's the thing, on every cruiser bike that I've ridden, which bearing in mind, up to this point is only 3 types of cruisers, they've all been incredibly fun. But where does this bike stack up to the Vulcan 650 from Kawasaki and the Honda Rebel 1100? Well, let's jump on and let's find out. I mean, kind of as I've already said in the other videos that we shot on the V7 here, it's quite difficult to compare between this and the Vulcan and the Rebel, because this is quite a different riding experience to those bikes. It sounds totally different with that transverse V-twin. The way how it just wants to tip over to the right hand side every time you open the throttle, well, at least from a standstill anyway. You know, it is just a different riding experience, but it still has torque and it still has horsepower, which the Vulcan 650 definitely has got torque and it definitely has horsepower, but it doesn't have, the torque isn't quite as aggressive, but it does have a slightly higher RPM limit, and it does have a slightly higher horsepower amount as well, I believe. Or maybe it should be about the same, actually, I think, off the top of my head. I think it's about 68 in comparison to 66.5 of the V7 here. So quite comparable, really, but the biggest difference is that torque. You're feeling so much more torque on this bike than on the Vulcan 650. Oh dear, what's going on there? The CRV is... oh, it's reversing for some reason. I wonder why. Oh, they're turning this way. Yeah, that's the thing. The torque is far more aggressive, but on this bike than the Vulcan S. But the Vulcan S has got a slightly longer gearing, a slightly higher RPM limit, so it feels more like a traditional motorcycle. I mean, it is a parallel twin after all, and so is the Rebel, so they feel more like traditional bikes, whereas this has got, because of that engine, it's got so much more charm to it. You know, it's far more rugged, it's not as refined. You know, you've got those vibrations, you've got the pops and bangs, you got the fact the bike wants to lean over to the right hand side every time you open the throttle. You know, it's just things like that that really do make it stand apart from those other bikes. So it's not really a fair comparison to make, but they are all cruisers. Now, in terms of the Rebel 1100, that is an amazing bike, you guys. Like, as much as the riding experience is absolutely fantastic, the ergonomics aren't actually that great. The ergonomics on this, the V7, and the Vulcan S are far better for cruisers. All right, it's a far better ergonomic setup for cruisers for my taste. All right, they're far more comfortable, they're far more user friendly, whereas on the Rebel there's a bit of a reach to the handlebars and you're kind of squatting a little bit more on the seat, you know. So it's you get a little bit more relief on your knees on this bike and on the Vulcan S. So in terms of comfort and ergonomics, I think the V7 here and the Vulcan 650 are better than the Rebel. But the kingmaker here has got to be the performance. All right, don't get me wrong, the performance of the Vulcan S and this are very, very amicable, very, very good, very, very street oriented, and arguably perfect for street riding in so many ways. It's very, very good. But that 1100 parallel twin from Honda is a beast. There's so much torque, so much power. That bike is just so fun to ride for that reason. The performance is on another level, you guys. That's got to be one of the fastest cruiser bikes ever made. Cruiser bikes, they're not made to be fast, all right? Let's make made that very clear. They're not made to be fast. They're not designed to be fast bikes by any stretch of the imagination. But the fact that Rebel has got that much torque, that much horsepower, that feeling, that holding on to the handlebars kind of feeling as you're 100% on the throttle is second to none. It's just incredible. But this is in a close second for me. The V7 is in a close second for sure. Again, it doesn't necessarily have the top end horsepower. It does drop off a little bit as you get past 6,000 RPM, but the limit's at 7. So again, you're not missing out on that much. But the torque that you get, again, that's second to none on this bike. The torque between this and the Rebel are very, very similar to one another, which is crazy considering that the Vulcan, sorry, not the Vulcan, the Rebel rather, has got what, 300cc more than this, nearly? 250cc more than this, more displacement. So it's amazing how Moto Guzzi have been able to get this much torque out of a bike with this much displacement, like an 850cc displacement. It's great, the fact they've been able to do that, but it's just off the Rebel for me. And this is the sad part about all this, you guys, because I absolutely love the Vulcan S. It's an all-round fantastic motorcycle, very, very comfortable. The foot pegs are like out here as well, so it's such a comfy riding experience, and what I think of as a traditional cruiser-like riding experience. But this definitely has the edge over it, and so does the Rebel, unfortunately. As much as I love the Vulcan S, in terms of riding experience, this bike is better, and so is the Rebel. So if I was to take one of these bikes home, which one would I take? This is such a difficult question to ask you guys, or to answer. Because despite the flaws of the Rebel, that's still the best cruiser bike I've ridden to date. And that's even though I prefer the ergonomics of this bike, and even though the performance is very close to the Vulcan. Sorry, not to the Vulcan, to the Rebel. I keep thinking Vulcan. To the Rebel rather, the Honda Rebel. The performance is so close between these two bikes, but still, the Rebel has the edge there. I think the difference is the use case. Do I want to put on loads of mileage on the bike, or do I want to use it as a weekend toy? If it's a weekend toy, then for me it's got to be the Rebel all day long, because that bike is so fun, it's so fast, it's got so much torque, but it's not very comfortable. So doing longer journeys on that bike would be a challenge. It would be difficult. And yet, doing longer journeys on this, for me, would be an absolute doddle. And even if you are struggling a little bit, you know, your butt starts to ache, you can quite easily stand up on the bike just to give your arse a bit of relief. And it's very easy to do on this bike, you know, because you're sitting so upright, so neutral. It's very easy to stand up on it and just take your weight off your arse a little bit, and maybe extend your knees. It's still suitable to ride like that. Whereas the Rebel, I don't know if I could do that on the Rebel. To be fair, I haven't tried, but I don't know if I could ride like that on the Rebel, in all honesty. But this bike, you could ride for hours on end, no problem. It's so comfortable. And the fact you've got that performance as well, that's so close to the Rebel, this would be the bike I would take. If this was a commuter, and I had a long commute, or I had to do lots of mileage, this would be the bike I'd take. The only thing to consider would be that you'd expect the Rebel to be more reliable, same as the Vulcan. You'd expect those bikes to be a little bit more reliable than this one. But I can't speak to the reliability of this bike. All I can really discuss is the riding experience, and comparing the riding experience between this and the other bikes that I've mentioned today. Sorry, a bug flew up my nose. But this riding experience, you guys, is second to none. For a cruiser bike riding experience, this is very good. And it's quite a good combination between a cruiser riding experience and a naked bike riding experience. You're getting elements of both with this bike, which again caters to me quite nicely because I love naked bikes. It's a really good riding experience, this, you guys. So, but that's the thing. For me, riding experience is king. That's what I care about the most when it comes to buying bikes. And for me, the Honda Rebel just slightly edges out this bike in terms of riding experience. So I would still probably buy the Rebel over this, but not by much. And depending on the price between these two bikes, because again, I haven't looked at the price. Alright, I think the Rebel is going for 12, 13, 14 grand, something like that. I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that's around about where it is. It wouldn't surprise me if this bike is at a very similar price point to the Rebel. But if this bike was a little bit cheaper, then it would be this all day long for me. It'd be a no-brainer. Definitely. Yeah, man, what a wicked bike this is. Just a fantastic riding experience. And I have to say that despite how much I enjoyed the Rebel, this is on par in so many ways. And a lot of it comes down to that charm. Like the Rebel is just all out fun. But this bike has got that charm to it as well, which not many bikes do. And I think that's what retro bikes bring to the table in a lot of ways, is that charm. Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it, you guys? How bikes can be so similar yet so different in so many subtle ways, that the end result, the riding experience at the end of it, is just so different between one bike to the next. And even though the same goes for the Vulcan and the Rebel, even though they're both parallel twins, they share a lot of similarities. They ride so differently. The riding experience is so different. Oh, it's wicked, you guys. It's awesome. And look, I'm not that familiar with Moto Guzzi bikes, but they've definitely left a mark here for me today. They've definitely got me thinking about getting one of these in the future, for sure. At least considering it, you know? Oh. My gosh, see, look, street fighting like that, no problem. Street riding, no problem. This bike is a perfect street rider. That's the thing, it's a great all-round bike. Whereas the Rebel isn't. The Rebel is quick, torquey, incredibly torquey, and incredibly fun because of that power, because of the performance. But this bike is all-round. Just, yeah, it's a fantastic all-rounder. Yeah, I've loved this bike. So that just as it's like standing here, like, you can see the vibrations and the handlebars that they're moving. It's so funny. Woo! Oh man, what a bike, you guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with this bike, and like what happens so often, I don't want to give the bike back. But I've got my Triumph Daytona 955i to ride home today, so I'm not too disappointed. But my goodness, is this bike fun. My goodness, has this bike surprised me in so many ways. It's a great bike, you guys. It's a great bike in all the ways that matter, you know. Oh, you guys, thank you ever so much for joining us on our rides out on the Moto Guzzi V7 Sport. This bike is has been an absolute blast, and I'm gonna miss it. You know, this bike has definitely left an impression on me, and it doesn't surprise me that these bikes are, you know, how and why they're so popular. You know, it's just one of those bikes that makes sense in so many ways. You know, they're not too fast, but they feel fast. They're not uncomfortable. They're not too cafe racer like. They're not too sport like. They're not too naked like or too cruiser like. It's a perfect sweet spot for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just one of those riding experiences that I'll remember for a long time, and one of these days I am going to be buying a cruiser, and I always thought it was going to be between the Vulcan and the Rebel, but I think definitely we should add one of these into the mix as well. Certainly, you guys. My gosh, what a bike, what an experience, what a time I've had on this motorcycle. I've absolutely loved it, and yeah, for me, for the riding experiences that I've had, this is one of the best. Okay. There it is. Alrighty, you guys, I'm gonna have to leave the video here. If you've enjoyed our ride out today on the Moto Guzzi V7, then please go ahead and leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because in the near future, hopefully I'll get an opportunity to ride more Moto Guzzis, and if they're as good as this, well, I'm all for it, man. I can't wait. But thanks again, everyone. You guys, you take care. You ride safe. We'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.